So the reason for Laplace transform was basically to extend the domain of the signal that you have, to make sure that the signal satisfies this existence of this transforms by putting some exponential decay here, so that it guarantees that this integral is always less than 1, which is modified signal now, xt multiplied by e to the power of minus sigma t, with sigma being equal to a positive number. So we put instead of a j omega there, we put a sigma plus j omega in this S here. The only reason for putting the sigma was to make sure that we take a larger class of signals which will satisfy the transform relation. On top of that, we also put a lower limit as 0, because we always deal with causal signals, because no system will give you response until the signal is up until the it gives the output from the point of application of the signal. Causal system. Are you with me or not? Remember the definition of causal system? It is not anticipatory, meaning thereby you cannot have a response depend upon the future. It only has to depend upon the response from the time you have applied the signal. Such signals are 0 for t less than 0. So x of t is of that nature, are having a 0 for t less than 0. So minus infinity portion will be removed. So that is called a one-sided Laplace transform instead of two-sided Laplace transform, which we will study in mathematics in the next 1 month. And properties and all this, they will derive it for you. Okay. So we will take over from there here. But I am bringing this is, all our impedance functions were in terms of this S here, the same as what we are talking here. Because where did you get S from? We assumed input as e to the power of st. And since the relation between input and output is always a linear differential equation with constant coefficients, so every term of that will be like e to the power of st. So the ratio of output to input is always e to the power of st multiplied by some term which should only be a function of s, right? So for that convenience, we assumed that the input is a more generalized input, e to the power of st rather than a sinusoidal wave, and then derive the relationships of impedance and all this in terms of S. And we must remember all these connections. If you have ZFS, if this happens to be a driving point impedance, we said all the poles of this function must be in the left half plane, and the zeros also must be in the left half plane, which means the pole and 0 must have a negative real part. That means in the S plane, I am just very quickly going through what we did in 101. The poles and zeros must lie in the left half. Agreed? But that is true for driving point impedance. For transfer impedances, output to somewhere else at the input, then we said the poles and zeros don't have to satisfy this condition. Poles must be in the left half plane, but zeros can be anywhere, right? So if it is the driving point impedance, there is a transfer impedance, then poles only must be in the left half. But the moral of the story is the poles have to be in the left half. And what does the pole mean? Where the function becomes infinity, right? Because at the point at which denominator is 0, so it becomes infinity. So they all lie in this, there will be no poles lying in the left half. So we must be reading already in the complex variable theory something called singularities, where the function becomes infinity. So all those singularities must be lying in the left half. We also have argued, when we talk about PR functions, that the function must be analytic. I am using words here, but you will understand these words better in this coming 1 month when complex variable theory is taught for you. Function is analytic means there are no singularities in the right half plane, which automatically means there are no poles in the right half. Only poles must be restricted to remain in the left half plane. These are some of the properties which we have discussed for the continuous signals. So, for a continuous signal, any transformation of the signal x of t of that nature what we discussed must have a transformation such that the poles are in the left half. We also said that if the poles are in the left half plane, it guarantees that the function is a causal function. Right? That also we said. So, since the function is a causal function, by my definition there, so the poles must be lying in the left half. This is the information we got from our 101 as far as the continuous signal goes. Okay, now keep this in back of your mind and appreciate what I am talking about, discrete signals. And keep in mind, discrete signal is nothing but a integral relationship I do as a sampled values. Okay. So I'll come back to this and I mean, you will appreciate this more as you read complex variable theory when we come down to continuous signals again. Just to give a connectivity, so what the people have defined in discrete systems, discrete signals, is by definition what they have used, x of z by definition is equal to n is equal to minus infinity plus infinity of x of n g to the power of minus n. This is the definition of the z transform. So, the convenient transformation which they have defined for the discrete signals like your Laplace transform or Fourier transform is a transformation which will convert the signal x of n, which is a discrete signal, in terms of a function called x of z, and I can do as we go along, we will see that just like your transfer functions and all this, discrete systems can also be analyzed in terms of similar spirit as continuous systems in terms of transfer functions. And the transfer function will be x of z or h of z, whatever you call it. The z now will be a complex variable. Okay. So, this is a definition that they have started with, and in most books you will find this as the definition, and then you will go into analyzing the system using the transform domain called the Z transform. This is called the Z transform. Let me now I have the connectivity somewhere. I should derive it myself. This is Laplace transform, right? And if I now huh? Are you with me? What I am writing? My signal now is a discrete signal. The discrete signal is this, which you wrote in that integral there. You plug that into the discrete signal here. You get the same e to the power of minus st. Then what do you get? What do we get? Don't confuse T is or something. Okay, let me leave it. We'll do it in next class. If you use this relationship, you will end up into the same representation. Okay.